Hey, Flank friends. I had a new update on this Brazil app that I'm working on. I also kind of ran through it last time, so I thought I'd give a little back to people on the Flank channel here and show you that NiFi really can take down giants. I'm showing you the power of NiFi here. Don't matter the size of the problem, we can take it out here. Yeah, a lot of Halloween fun's gonna be coming up, and we'll see how I can integrate that with IoT and NiFi, Flink Kafka, Pulsar, some other fun stuff here, Iceberg, LM, all kinds of cool stuff. Let's start sharing what we have here. I found a nice little update. Probably going to add that to my Halifax stuff too. I don't think I posted anything on that yet, but we will do that next. But there's a couple of updates here that I have for Sao Paulo. And again, I'm putting it in the GitHub. There's something missing, please let me know. I'm going to work on an article on this. Got a couple of articles coming on NiFi with AWS, so we got to do that too. So I'll show you the update. But we'll go through the code again. I think I ran through it pretty quick. And there's a couple things that seem to come up a lot. Obviously, if you're watching what Pierre is putting out there and Mark, there's some really good stuff. But sometimes there's ways to do things easy for some of these things, and you can clean them up later based on performance if you need to. A lot of times, you'll think, well, I can improve performance by optimizing a couple of these steps. And then later, it's something that runs once an hour. Here, this is pretty frequent. So maybe we want to do this more, edit this a little better. But let's just show you what I'm doing here. So I want to access the transit data for Brazil, for Sao Paulo. We're going to be doing a talk, which I'm pretty excited about. But you have to log in first. This is an interesting one. So hard to go through an API when you don't know the language. But first thing you do is authenticate. When that's done, I think Provenance is so helpful to see what happens after that. Well, the thing we noticed, and you'll see that mentioned elsewhere, first we get back in is true. So that means, yeah, the login worked, our code works. You got to sign up for the access to this, like most of the REST APIs, which makes sense. And then once you have that, you can log in and look at positions. I was translating the documents and it translated even the URL, so it wasn't working. But this is the correct URL here. We give it a call, and the important thing here, besides other stuff, is this set cookie. That's the cookie that was returned when I did that first call. So we could pass that along, and then we're logged in, which is awesome. And then I'm going to pull out the time. When the data comes back in JSON, we could take a look at that. Again, looking at Provenance is extremely helpful for some of these things. If we look, it's a big JSON file. Can I make this any bigger for people? Maybe not. Here we go. So this here, that is the time for this whole file. And then there's a lot of individual records here. Again, decoding this from abbreviated Portuguese was interesting, but it's all documented. So you find this part, and you see here we have a lot of records, and then there's another subset. Now, we could keep it in this format. To me, I like to make it as flat and as wide as possible. So we'll start pulling out attributes that fit on every record, the time. And then here I could see L has all these V records underneath it. So I'm going to break it up into chunks that make sense. L here for the line. And then I've got a bunch of other for each individual thing coming through the transportation system. So because we're getting the position of every bus on every line in that minute. So that's a lot of them. and to push them all together doesn't make sense to me. So we do that. So I pull out the time, evaluate JSON path, really nice for that kind of thing. And you don't have to break up your file, add it to the attributes. Remember, attributes sitting around your flow file, not messing up your data. Here, I'm going to break up that huge file you saw based on all those records underneath it. But if I did that without grabbing the time, I'd lose it. So important thing to notice, if you lose something, just grab it a different way, put it in attributes, and then you'll be fine. So we split that up. And then here, I'm going to pull the fields underneath there, again, put them into attributes and give them names that make sense for me in English: direction, the destination, identifier, and underneath it says a number of vehicles. And we're going to split that out too, so we can get, all the individual records underneath there. Very helpful. If you see here, we're starting to get flatter. And now we've got the vehicles under here. This one tells you there's only one vehicle, but a lot of these have 3 or more, depending on what's going on where you are. And then here, again, I'm going to start rebuilding the flat, wide format that I like. This is great for pushing into Kudu, HBase, Iceberg, wherever, or just leaving it in Kafka. Being wide, all the data I need, makes it very easy to query. So here I can add that time, can add direction. Also like to add a timestamp of right now, so I know when NiFi worked on it. Put a unique ID in there because a lot of this data doesn't have it. Make sure this is JSON, and also set up the schema and topics. So when I push this to Kafka, I could just reuse it. Again, I could break up these flows and reuse Kafka processors, anyone that's doing JSON and coming up with its own schema, same with Avro. All that can be pulled out, made dynamic, or put into parameters. So if we take a look here, we got a bunch of data getting sent out, and one message sent to Kafka. If we let's run this again, we can keep it big. Watch what you grab. Okay, so I'm going to run this. I can leave this scheduled to keep running, but I have a lot of it. As you saw there, I've got a lot running. Can run a couple. I also have a schedule here for once a minute. I can probably leave that running. If you watch, it'll make the call, get all that stuff going. Then we'll head over to SMM so I can look into Kafka, make sure I'm getting data showing up here, and I can see the data. There's that key I sent. Here's all the messages, JSON, pretty flat, pretty wide considering how narrow it was. So data's coming in, as you can see here. We've been pushing these records. This could be a huge amount of data if we let this run every minute, and maybe we will at some point. Ooh, secret jump ahead. Remember before I had that nice data catalog? Well, those are all lat longs in there. So if I have Latin longs, I can map things. And I can do that with Cloudera visualization, but here to be pure open source, I just wanted to do this in a flat HTML. This is something David at Stream Native showed me. It's very easy to do, and the code's all in HTML. So we're running our polling, and that is processing, populating this materialized view. I like to keep a minimum number of rows there so they don't expire. So at least you see something. So if we haven't run it in a while, we'll still have it there. So I have that REST endpoint, which I showed you before. It's got all that data, and I use that to pull that into this screen. Let's reload this, make sure this is live. And it's going to repopulate the map of Sao Paulo with all these different data, same data below. And you can see we got the minute there, hour, and all the different vehicles as they're navigating around. One thing cool with this kind of data chart is I could use this to narrow down the data or do a search, because I may be showing a few thousand records. Now, I don't know what to search for because I don't know where I'm going or any of street names or buses, but you can see as they transport around, I guess where the busiest parts of town are. That might be, oh, that's the bus terminal. Makes sense. There's a bunch of buses sitting there. Very cool. So you can see that data on the map. You can see it in the catalog. What's cool is I didn't have to make some kind of weird app to just do that. I've got my query here, standard Flink app. It's deployed, running, getting data for me, putting it into that materialized view, and I just read it. And now I'm reading it twice here because I don't know JavaScript well enough to share it between these two different things. But one is putting it in this map where it's pretty cool. We're seeing it at the terminal for the bus, and you can see there's a lot of them. We've got them all through the Sao Paulo area, obviously focused in some parts that maybe are busier or larger, where there's stuff going on there. I'm going to be somewhere over here for our Evolve event. So if you're in Brazil or in South America, definitely come out to Evolve. Really cool event. So we've got it there. We've got the Flink. Nice little update there, but pretty easy. If you're having problems with this or you want to see other parts, let me know. Next up, I'm going to do some stuff for Halifax, where Community Over Code, or what we used to call ApacheCon is. That's going to be in Halifax, Canada in October, over start of the month. It's going to be over the weekend. Definitely come out. We may have a meetup, some other events there, but I'll do some other NiFi Flink Kafka stuff. Thanks for watching. Hopefully covered a couple of things here, and I'll show you a little more in Halifax, and I'll show you a little more with the LLM stuff.